Is your view based on the assumption that Fine Gael will be the largest party in the Dáil after the next election, but that if it's not and Fianna Fáil is, then you'll talk with Fianna Fáil?
I suppose it's not with one specific party that I'm talking about. It's that we will talk to anybody. I suppose we're very serious about being in government, and that's why we'll talk to everybody, because we want to be in government. But at the end of the day, we're fighting to be the largest political party in the South. But it's the people that will decide on that. But I suppose what we're saying to the people at this stage, if they vote for us, then they can be sure that we will do absolutely everything possible to be in government, but to be in government to implement a strong programme of government. And I suppose what I'd be saying to people in rural Ireland, that rural Ireland and services and supports and infrastructure and everything else would have to be front and centre of any programme for government. So to us, which political party, it's a case of who will agree the programme for government that we want to implement our policies. Because what we're hearing back from people is, we like your policies, we like what you're saying about health, about education, about a whole variety of things, but, we want you to be in government to do that. And I suppose if a sufficient number of people want us to be in government and give us that mandate, then we have a responsibility to talk to Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Social Democrats, Independents, everybody who would form a government.
Jim Daly, in his interview in Hot Press last week, said he had no ideological difficulty with being in government with Sinn Féin, but isn't that where the difficulty might lie? For many within Fine Gael, there would be a huge ideological problem in Sinn Féin and Fine Gael being in government together, and that, as Brian Hayes said over the weekend, it could actually split Fine Gael were a coalition of yourselves and that party contemplated.
Oh yeah, it would be a huge ideological problem for many within Sinn Féin too, and I understand that. But I think it has to be about, I suppose it's an evolving situation. I think it has to be about what can be delivered for people, rather than about ideology, if you like. Obviously, we are a party, we're a Republican Party, we're a party that want a 32-county Irish Socialist Republic. That underpins everything that we do. But we have to deliver for people on the ground as well. So, of course there'd be discomfort. But people have to come out of their comfort zones at the end of the day. And, it's up to, I suppose, what, I know Jim Daly, and I find Jim Daly to be a very reasonable person in the role that he's doing around mental health as well. And I have constant engagement with him in terms of trying to forward the whole agenda around mental health and the serious problems that are within it, and trying to resolve those. So it's about people working together, and I suppose it's as well about the electorate. I think the electorate are somewhat, tired of politicians fighting all the time. They want to see real results, and I suppose what I was saying yesterday to people was, we are very serious when we're being in government, but the other thing is, let's be very clear about it. We will not prop up bad politics. So it's not a case of us going into government and just accepting any programme or whatever. There would be red line issues for us, and one of the red line issues for me, myself, would be around rural Ireland and putting rural Ireland front and centre, and things like, where we see last week that Fine Gael, refused to, they took the infrastructure projects like the Western Rail Corridor off the agenda when it could have been substantially supported by the EU. We had Micheál Martin a number of months before that saying that there wouldn't be a Western Rail Corridor either, and he's on public record as saying that. So they are issues that have to be sorted out, because that wouldn't be good enough, for us in government. So without that, we would not be able to establish a government. But, at the end of the day, we've negotiated with the DUP and with, many other parties to deliver for people. And that's where we're coming from, I suppose, in discussing all this. And I think it's important to discuss it out of an election so that people know what they're going to get when the election time comes.
Isn't that a very important point, Rose Conway-Walsh? And it's one that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael both knock on the head, that there will be absolutely no discussion whatsoever of any coalition with Sinn Féin in the course of a general election. We know from Micheál Martin that he will be going to the campaign whenever it's called, anxious that Fianna Fáil should be the largest party, because in his case, if it's not, he will probably be the first Fianna Fáil leader not to be Taoiseach. Last week when Jim Daly gave this interview and it was published in Hot Press, he was smacked down by Leo Varadkar, who similarly said there would be no truck with Sinn Féin. So isn't it the case that both parties, if they go into the election saying absolutely no deal with Sinn Féin, and subsequently one or other of them decide to enter negotiations with yourselves, that the credibility of the party and the credibility perhaps even of the government may be at stake?
But I think their credibility, even in saying that, is that, I mean, I don't speak for Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, but, you know, there's loads of contradictions in what they're saying. So, you know, Fianna Fáil would have castigated us for, you know, not going into government the last time and not forming a government and not speaking to them. You know, it's a bit of a kind of a schoolyard stuff. Well, you know, you should be speaking to us, but if you speak to us, we're not going to speak back to you. You know, it's all a bit crazy, really. And they, I suppose, need to sort that out for themselves. But I know, in talking to many people, cross parties, people on the ground, that people, you know, that there isn't the opposition that maybe the parliamentary party might have to it. And I thought it was very silly of Neil Richmond yesterday to box himself into a corner and say, well, you know, if Sinn Féin go into government with Fine Gael go into government with Sinn Féin, I'm going to be leaving. You know, I thought that showed a naivety in a sense. Like, if we go back to 2007, at that time they would know within Fine Gael that Fine Gael came that time to look to Sinn Féin to form a government. I think it was, and it was not actually me saying it now, I think it was Jim Gormley from the Greens that had been sent to ask Sinn Féin if they would consider, but we didn't have a sufficient mandate at the time to have any influence.
And I think Enda Kenny back then in 2007 was prepared to talk with Sinn Féin if he could secure government. Mind you, he was lucky he didn't, but nonetheless, it's not as though it's alien territory for Fine Gael.
Not at all. And then if you look even before that, in terms of Fine Gael, you know, working with Princess de Rossa and all of those from the Democratic left, you know.
Indeed, between 94 and 97.
That's right. Yeah, that would never happen either, and it happened, and you know there was some successes in that. So you have all of this speak of, you know, you won't talk to us, but if you do talk to us, we won't talk to you anyway. And you know, this blind statements of, you know, Sinn Féin isn't fit for government, but you are fit for government in the north, but not here. You're not quite ready. You know, before this it was like, you know, it was, oh, well, we would, but Gerry Adams, you couldn't possibly go into government with Gerry Adams. Now we have a new party president. Oh, no, we couldn't, because to me, it's, you know, for somebody looking from the outside, it looks a bit crazy to me. I think what it does show as well is that there's a real fear among Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael about where Sinn Féin is going and how we're growing as a party, and I suppose how we're developing even under the leadership and the presidency of Mary Lou. I think it's quite.
But are you though, Rose? Because the opinion polls, since she was elevated to president in early February, don't suggest a significant increase in support, insofar as the opinion polls are concerned, that is, of course.
I think that would take a period of time anyway, when you have a new leader like that. Like, people want to see what Mary Lou is going to deliver and what, you know, what's going to be delivered by Sinn Féin under her presidency, how the party is going to go. So I think people are watching all that to see what the differences will be. And, you know, I suppose as any new party president, you know, is he or she up for the job, and, you know, what's going to happen there. So I think that's something that will unfold, and I think we need within the party, within our own party, we need to be, you know, better at a lot of things. We need to all of the time come out of our comfort zones. We need to, to continue to fight for people, to stand up for people, to be brave in our politics, have courage in it, and to communicate with people as well, obviously.
Final thought. Sorry to cut across you. Final thought. I know from previous interviews that you are passionate about rural Ireland, and that for you that would be a red line issue. But can you just identify 3 issues that you would want in any programme for government involving Sinn Féin, whether with Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, that would benefit the people of rural Mayo?
I think one of the major things would be Knock Airport. I really want to see Knock Airport and the zone around Knock Airport developed properly, and the proper funding put into Knock Airport to develop it
as an industrial zone.
Yes, I think that has never happened, and I think it's a disgrace that it hasn't happened. So that would be one of the things. You know, the Western Rail corridor would be another, and it would be major investment in broadband. And I'd have to put roads in there as well.
So a significant capital spending programme.
A capital spending programme, yeah. And what really concerns me, you see, is that, and where we would be coming from a different, is that this infrastructure wouldn't be demand-led, because we believe that that's getting the governments off the hook, in the sense that we are not, we haven't the population for it to be demand-led. So we need to be forward-thinking in it. We need to put the infrastructure in, put the jobs potential in, the enterprise potential in, and then it's like developing around Knock Airport. The enterprises will come, the jobs will come with that. But if we sit back and wait for there to be enough of people around, it won't happen, and immigration will continue, and unemployment will continue.
Very good. We must leave it there, Rose Conway-Walsh. I suppose at the end of the day, the numbers will decide the outcome. But for the moment, Senator Rose Conway-Walsh from Sinn Féin, many thanks.
Good evening. Thank you, Aidan.